Breaking news, everybody! Stop the presses, hold every single one of your horses, because we are less than 200 subscribers away from hitting the big 10K. 10,000 subs! I can't even... The thing is, years ago, like back when I first started this, I was happy just to have 400. That's a monumental feat in itself to even get started on YouTube. The fact that everything is taking off like it is just a miracle to me. It's unbelievable. And you better believe I have a huge celebration planned for when we actually pass that milestone. But we're gonna put that off to the side for now. We'll talk about that when we actually get there. For now, please enjoy the rant I've got today, because this is a subject that I've been meaning to get to for a while, like many of these episodes, and I'm sure in light of games that have been released recently, it's definitely something that's worth talking about, so enjoy.
Overwatch is out! Yes! I've been watching other people play this game for so long that finally being able to sit down and enjoy it on my own terms is downright glorious. I was so excited to play this that I almost hit level 10 on day 1. I haven't marathoned a game like that in ages. And I just wanted to reestablish that before we started for the sake of disclosure. I like this game, quite a lot as a matter of fact, but there's one element of it that I know is going to raise a couple eyebrows. See, Overwatch costs you $40 up front to play, $60 if you're on consoles. However, it also has in-game transactions that cost even more money. This is essentially to buy the in-game loot boxes that bestow you with extra taunts, costumes, voice lines, and animations, and while none of that specifically affects how powerful you are or how well you can play, it still comes down to the idea that you already paid money for this experience. And now it wants more from you. Yeah, not hard to see why this doesn't sit well with some people. So, being as forward-facing and blunt as I am, you'd think I would hate this too, right? I might, if I wasn't considering all the angles. First off, let's look at this from a developer perspective. Why are these transactions in Overwatch to begin with? Well, because it's a persistent experience. If you don't count training mode, it's a multiplayer-only game, one that has no plans of releasing yearly sequels or paid DLC. Yes, I want to establish that right off the bat. Overwatch will be releasing all of its new maps and characters to all players for free as time goes on. So the content that will have the biggest impact on the experience for most people will not be locked behind a paywall, at least that's what Blizzard has told us. But then you have to consider something. To produce that content, as well as keep the servers running, this game is going to cost a lot to support, even after development is technically done. Blizzard wants this game to be a part of your life for a long time, but without some way to keep the money coming in during that time, you're talking about a game meant to last for years, whose only major influx of revenue comes in up front. That is not a viable business strategy. Now, before you bring up The Witcher 3, that game was getting paid DLC down the road, not to mention it didn't have to worry about supporting any kind of multiplayer. And before you bring up Splatoon, Nintendo gets away with it because they're Nintendo. It takes years of bad business decisions to break even one of their fans. I should know. The rest of us have to actually try for our paychecks, and this is where the conflict comes from. It doesn't matter that you can earn loot boxes yourself just by playing the game. It doesn't matter that the contents within said boxes are only cosmetic, because no company gives you the option to spend money in their game with the intent that you won't do it. Not to mention the particular type of microtransactions they've implemented here are specifically catered towards this game's demographic. Now, you'll have to forgive me for this next part, because it's where I start peeling the layers back and telling you the hard truth about how games work as a business. It's not something I like to do because it makes me feel like one of those asshats at GDC that uses the term whales unironically, but hopefully it'll give you the insight needed to understand this. See, there are 3 major demographics of gamers out there: kids, young adults, and middle-aged adults. And there are 3 factors that differentiate them: time, money, and skill. Kids have plenty of time and skill, but no money. they usually only get a small allowance or have to ask their parents to buy something for them. This means Overwatch's monetization system doesn't work as well on that demographic, because usually the more learned and reasonable adult will say, no, I don't care how cool Pharah's new skin is, you cannot spend $100 on loot crates. Young adults, on the other hand, are different. Due to the newfound responsibilities placed upon them, they have plenty of skill and money, but no time. Again, I should know. And that's where the loot system gets ya. Thanks to the fact that all the drops are random, you may not necessarily get what you're looking for out of any particular crate. Sure, you can trade in your duplicate drops for credits, and those credits can be spent on whatever you want, but the higher end and highest quality items take so long to save up for that at least a profitable number of people are likely to break under the weight of their own impatience, especially if they like the game. Imagine, you come home from a long day at work and you want to unwind with a couple matches in Overwatch. You end it off by opening your crates and notice you're just a few credits off from getting that skin you really want. You're already pushing your sleep schedule though, and you've got to go back to work in the morning, so you can't grind out another level tonight. At that point, you might think, it's just a few bucks, right? No big deal. I make this sound insidious, but think about it. From the perspective of those people, that's a really convenient option to have. An option that can actually improve your overall experience with the game, because when you walk away from every session feeling like you've made progress or improved your standing in the world, that's a great sensation. It makes you feel accomplished and happy, even if your actual skills haven't gotten that much better. And that's the key point, isn't it? Games are not just wheels for competition or trials to be judged in. They're about inspiring something in you. So what if you spent more money on the game? If it helps you have fun, who cares? As for me, well, I might not be the best study case. See, I'm surprisingly literal. Everything means one thing to me, so when I buy a sit down and play console game, it just feels right to unlock everything by actually playing. The journey is just as important as the destination to me, even if it takes a little longer than I'd like sometimes. To me, paying money to eliminate some of that journey from the equation makes no sense, but that's just me. If you want my honest opinion, this is probably the best way Blizzard could have gone about this. They could have easily made you have to buy the new characters as they came out, and let's be frank, we probably would have done it. But they decided to have faith that their audience would want to support the game years later just because, and that's a surprisingly refreshing gesture in today's market. Remember my episode on game preservation? How I briefly mentioned online-only games that got their servers cut, and how it effectively erases those experiences from history, never to be seen again? I enjoy Overwatch quite a lot, but if I want to keep enjoying it, I'm gonna have to accept that features like this are necessary. And maybe question why I didn't like them to begin with. I mean, what do I really lose if someone else has character skins that I don't? How does it negatively affect my experience if they got those skins by spending extra money as opposed to leveling up? And what does it take away from my life if that money goes into making sure that Overwatch stays around longer than it might have otherwise? I can't even make the Hearthstone argument here, where the metagame just became miserable for new players who didn't have the cards everyone else did, because these items have literally no impact on gameplay. This is fine. I have no problem with this system of monetization because it's the happy middle ground we've all been looking for quite a while. But hey, that's just my perspective.
Now, I'm pretty sure I've said this to you guys before, but it bears repeating that there are always two sides to every story, and it rarely is it a purely good side and a purely evil side. There's always more to think about. It's not quite as simple as just accepting that the other person is wrong. It's about knowing that, yeah, there are legitimate reasons that they do something like this. And it's not easy to do that. It really isn't, because it means accepting somewhere in your mind that you could potentially be proven wrong someday. And that's very, very difficult for some people to do. But it is the more rewarding path, because it can lead to better discussion, it can lead to better facts, it can make you seem a lot smarter, because it means you're open to the idea that the world is a lot simpler than black and white. But food for thought for this week, and please tune in again next week when we will once again be covering whatever's happening in the industry today. Until then, I'm Whatthefnu. Later, everybody.